Hello, everybody. Welcome back to One Leeds here. It is Connor, and we are back with your weekly show. We are back with your weekly debrief. Leeds United on the back of an absolute hiding, a battering, an embarrassment yesterday at the hands of Crystal Palace. The Londoners came up and really taught Leeds United a lesson in the second half. Roy Hodgson has come back into management and he's seemingly do a cracking job. Palace, I think it's now together. I think they've had about 50 shots in 2 games. And unfortunately, 5 of those went in against Leeds United, and it could have been much, much more. But to break this apart, to somehow find a narrative out of this, a conclusion, I need Gabe and I need Brownie in for this one. I want you guys to stay along with us as well and try help us through it. It feels like a grieving process, that. I was down at Ellen Road yesterday and I still have no idea what happened. I'm still confused. I've been trying to work it out today. It's probably the most confused post-match I've been. I've gone through every emotion under the sun. But enough waffle. We're going to get into a couple of your comments. But before we do that, we're going to get in the boys. And we'll get into it, guys. But make sure you're sharing this to your friends, your family, all this sort of good stuff. And make sure you're liking the content as always. That just gives us an indication that you're enjoying the content. Without any further ado, Gabe, Brownie, boys, we're in. There is nearly 260 people joining for this therapy session. I've absolutely no idea to start. So what I'm going to do, instead of just starting with me waffling on, I'm going to start with just some people's comments. I think that sounds pretty good. Paul, who got us the ticket, shout out to Big Paul. Hi, lads. Best part about yesterday was the beer at halftime, Connor. It was, mate. It was. And hey, Paul, we'll speak about that conversation we had at half-time, mate, because it's so interesting. You know, I said to Paul, lads, I said, don't know about this, you know. I'm not sure about this. I don't know how good I feel here. 1-1. I was thinking, I don't feel good here. That didn't feel the atmosphere. Palace fans going nuts. Then Boyd going in at half-time. Felt very odd. Paul thought we'd win the game, and I think a lot of fans did, really. Gavin says we have no midfield. McKennie is pants. Jack says we're going to get clapped 7-0 again. Mark my words. I don't know if that's referring to the next game. I presume it's Liverpool. Ayling and Bamford need dropping, and the armband needs taken from Ayling. There's some strong opinions in tonight. We bought Rutter. We need to be playing him from the start. Don't think much of you being a lucky charm, Connor. Well, yeah. I mean, that's out. Put it so that's out the window now, isn't it? That's out the window. Brownie, the worst Premier League defeat at Ellen Road Leeds have ever suffered. I think it's the biggest defeat we've suffered in the Premier League. It might be at home or in general since 1980 against Arsenal. I presume that's at home. I don't know where to start, mate. I mean, I guess we'll talk about the first half, but just in general, mate. I mean, help me.
Took the words right out of my mouth, mate. I was about to say I don't know where to start because after half an hour, I'm stood there and I'm thinking, this is all right, this. Another 3 points. Sitting on 32 points with 12. Can relax a bit towards the end of the season. And boy, did they relax. Because we ended up conceding 5. I mean, I've seen people say it was a good first half. I don't think it was. It was a good 25 minutes. But honestly, from my opinion, after we scored, we just stopped playing football. And I mean, I think I went to sleep last night screaming, stop giving stupid fouls away. I mean, it was just brain dead. It was just mindless. We got away with one just before they scored. And when Firpo got his usual yellow card and dangled a leg and gave away a stupid free kick, and I think it was Elise tried shooting from about 30 yards. And I thought, I'm glad he shot and not put it in the box, because it just felt like every time the ball went in our box from a set piece, they were going to score. And I mean, that's not just labelled at the management now or Marsh or Bielsa. I've not felt comfortable defending a set piece since we had Kyle Bartley and Pontus Jansson. For the last 4, 5, 6 years, I've not felt comfortable a ball going in our box. And it just can't be right. We looked gutless. I mean, the comment you put on about taking the armband off Ayling, and this was one major problem. Who would you give it to? Because I didn't see any leaders out there. None. Who would you give the armband? This is what a comment for the. Who would you give the armband to on the players that are on that pitch? Because I'm struggling. We went 1-0 up, and it just needed us to calm down, get on the ball, and it just went to pot. and we rode our luck for a good 10 minutes. And I mean, all their shots in the first half on target came after we scored. I mean, the signs were there just before half time, and I've been Javi's big fan purely because of what was before him. But the first 5-10 minutes of that second half just wasn't right. It was screaming for us to change something because they were just breaking on us at will. We couldn't string a pass together. Something needed to change because you alluded to it in the little comment you had about the about the chat you had at halftime with I can't remember the person's name, but about it didn't feel right. The first 10 minutes just didn't feel right at all, and something needed to give because it was inevitable that they were going to score again, and they scored, and there's so many fingers you could point at. I mean, the first 25 minutes, we said it off air, if you were giving player ratings in that first 25 minutes, you'd be giving 7s, you'd be giving 8s, you'd be giving 9s, because we were rampant. We were really good. If you come to give ratings at the end of the game, you're probably going to end up giving 2s and 3s. It was that chalk and cheese and that much of a decline. I've not seen a decline in a performance like that since... I'd probably throw the Derby playoff game in there where we were in complete cruise control at 1-0 up when Dallas scored, and then we ended up conceding. It's the first time we've conceded 4 goals in a second half, I believe, since then.
Yeah.
And it felt like that. And obviously, Gabe will have his opinion, and you will, and the people in the comments. But the goals, and I'm going to highlight the Jordan Ayew one the most because you could blame so many people in that. First of all, Aylin's long punt upfield. I mean, it looked like he was kicking a 40-20. He's just booted it. And then I don't expect Jack
Brownie under no pressure, by
the way. No distress. Yeah.
That's problem one. Problem one, he's just launched it. I don't expect Jack Harrison to win the header against Joel Ward. I don't. Okay, no. So Joel Ward's won the header, and then Palace have picked the ball up. And we're in really good shape. We've got people will go back and watch it. We're in a really good shape. There's a back 4 in there, and the ball gets played into the striker. Why Junior Firpo decides to run inside, I will never know, because it just leaves Elise and Ward completely free on the right-hand side with nobody near him. The ball goes out wide. Because Firpo's gone inside, Strikes then had to go out to the full-back position. The attempt to stop the cross is pathetic.
He may as well have not gone out.
For Pascal Strike to go out to that ball, you're right, Gabe. He may as well not have gone there because the attempt to stop that cross, and Illan again, flat-footed at the back post, he gets out-jumped. And I'm going to say it because I've took pelters off my mates, off people on social media for well over a year. That header isn't even in the corner. It's not in the corner of the goal. It's about 2 yards inside that post, and Meslier gets a full hand to it. How he's not keeping it out, I do not know. So I've nailed Illan. Illan again. Meslier.
Well, you've heard him list the players.
I'm not angry the internet's going because someone's put 5-6 players. 5-6 players in one goal. That can't be right. That can't happen for one goal. And like I said, when I said about the armband coming off Illan, who do you give it to? Because there's just no leaders, no nothing. And it was gutless. And like I said off air, and you were laughing, Gabe, I've seen stronger poppadoms. I've seen stronger poppadoms in some of them performances. Like, it was just weak. It was weak. And
I think what you're saying, mate, about leaders is something that I've not fully touched on yet, and what I do want to touch on in this as well, because I think you're absolutely bang on the money. I looked at every single one of them when it went 1-1. And even in the Derby performance, Leeds shrunk a little bit. And I'll never forget that. I remember looking at the players and they shrunk, they looked petrified. Yesterday, as soon as that goal went in at half-time, they're not even looking at each other. Heads down. And I remember people in the Kop screaming, get your heads up. All of the heads were down going in at half-time. That's a massive worry for me. Huge. 1-1 going in after the game's not over. The game's not over. Why they're going in heads down?
It felt like that though, mate. I mean, we had what 7-8 shots on target in that first half. We didn't have one in the second half. We were pathetic. We didn't have one shot on target in that second half. Someone might correct me, but and I'm seeing this again, and it's driving me insane. Without Meslier, we'd be like, he's conceded 54 goals. At what point do people start questioning a keeper who's conceded 54 goals? Do you know what he reminds me of? And I'm going on a rant. He reminds me of David De Gea when he came to Man United. He was weak. He flapped at crosses. He didn't command his area, but he was good at shot stopping from point blank. Meslier needs some strength and he needs something over the summer, because when he came on the scene in that cup game against Arsenal, his distribution was unbelievable. It looked like he could play centre midfield with the balls he was singing all over the place. The amount of pressure his goal kicks put us under these days. If someone wants to defend his distribution at the minute, then I must be watching something. I'm not saying Meslier is to blame for all of them goals, but one of my best mates is a centre-half at a very good level. The biggest thing centre-halves want is a keeper behind them they can trust and rely on and communicates with them. We've seen a lot of centre-halves play for Leeds. Struijk, Cooper, Wöber, Koch, Aylin's gone in there, Christensen's gone in there. The common denominator is the person behind him, who's been there ever present, by the way. I mean, the first goal, why is he coming out like Superman?
I know.
Why is he coming out like... If he stands big, it hits him. But he looks smaller when he comes out. He's 6 foot what? 6'3"? 6 foot. He's a big guy.
6'7", isn't he?
And I mean, there was that many goals I've forgotten, but the one that's put across him from the left-hand side, I think he should save that.
Yeah.
It's another shot that's not in the corner. I think back to a lot of the goals. I mean, we had this in the last debrief, Connor, when we were on about James Ward-Prowse and the free kick. He keeps getting a full hand to things and it goes in.
It was the same with, I guess it was the same with, do you remember John Joe Shelby, Newcastle at Ellen Road last season, where he got a full hand to it and he still palmed it in the back of the net. I think I agree with you, Matt. I think someone just mentioned it in the comments there. In the past 10, I think he's been very, very, very poor, notably poor. I mean, you look at someone put a compilation of the goals he's conceded over the past sort of 10 games. And I didn't really focus on him, to be honest, when I was thinking about players who were underperforming. But he was. There's been a lot of goals which have been simple saves, Meslier. And I understand what people are saying. Shot stopping wise, he's been fantastic. Correct.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I completely agree.
Then it doesn't. It doesn't also mean that means that easy opportunities and basic concentrations go amiss for him. Because it's getting to a point now where I agree. I mean, those 2 goals yesterday you just highlighted, he could have done better. I mean. And I do want to focus on all. I want to focus on the individual performances, and I know Gabe's going to touch on the defenders as well. But bringing you, Gabe, into it, mate, because it has been 15 minutes of me and Brownie just ranting, and we will rant more. That's going to continue. But are you in the same sort of thought process? Not touching on the defense just yet, but what was your overall synopsis of it, mate?
I've never seen a mental collapse like that. In context, I've certainly seen meltdowns, but we weren't playing Arsenal. We weren't playing Manchester City, Manchester United, even a poor Liverpool team, poor Chelsea team. Playing Crystal Palace without Wilfried Zaha. How many goals in the league had they scored before this match?
It was the second time in their history they'd scored 5 away from home.
It's disgraceful. This was disgraceful. There were a couple of things that I want to touch on before we get into the player performances and talk about the defenders, to sort of +1 on what you and Brownie have just said, Connor. So there was a stretch in the match where Mark Rocca was engaging a lot and chirping a lot with members of the other team. The only player to sort of come in and sort of try to cool heads a little bit was Weston McKennie, a guy who's been here less than 4 months. At one point, towards the end of the match, I know Squareball said this, loads of people have said this, Jonto looked like he was trying to get sent off. Frustrated, does what a 19-year-old does when he gets frustrated. Where the hell's the captain? Like, I agree with Brownie on this one point that just focusing on Luke Ayling as if he's the only player who played really poorly. Now, it was an atrocious, horrific performance from Luke Ayling, and it has been. I mean, he had like a purple patch of a couple matches around those 2 Manchester United games where he really played out of the skin. And of course, Vibes FC, people came out of the woodwork to say, give him a new contract. There's old Bill. Everybody knows he's not good enough at this level, right? And I think sometimes it's an overcorrection, because to battle these people that are like, oh, he gives his all, sometimes others will focus on everything that's wrong with Luke Ayling. We know it's Luke Ayling's not the guy. We know he's not a Premier League level right back. But I'm mostly going to castigate him for, if you're wearing that captain's armband, you have to act like a captain. And that means when players it was all around the pitch, all 10 outfield players at some point. So some of those goals, Crystal Palace didn't do anything special. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Very good players, good running with the ball at their feet. But when you look at those goals, nobody made like a Cristiano Ronaldo type run through 3 players and did anything individually special. It was training ground, simple football. And like when we get into the defenders, I'll go in on them. It's like collectively, every player decided they've got 4 options in front of them. What's the worst thing I could do right now? And that's what they did time and time again. I've never seen anything like it against that level of competition. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but everybody predicted the Leeds United win based on what our current form was and how Palace had played all season, and looked at Roy Hodgson. I look like a jackass because I was like, this team with Roy Hodgson, they're not going to do anything. Well, now they've won 2, and they've just put 5 goals past us.
The thing is, right, and we honestly, I mean, I've mentioned a few players already in the first 20 minutes. Struijk, Illan, Meslier. You could hammer every single player that was on that pitch, and you're right. My brother actually said to me, even though it was 5-1, I'd have took him off, even though we'd made our subs. Take him off before he got sent off, because he was walking a tightrope, and he was only on for a few minutes. When that minute spell at the end where he was just kicking people. And you're right, and this is what I meant by the armband. If you took it off Ayling, who did you give it to? There's no leaders in that team, right. And I've said this a few times, and I fired a tweet out, and when I tweeted it, I thought, and I sat down and thought about it. So it's been the same back 4 for the last 3 games, and we've conceded 10, right? Yeah. But if you were going to change that back 4, who'd you change it to? The investments that we've made over the last 2-3 years since we've been back in the Premier League, we've spent so much money at the top end of the pitch, so much money in attacking areas. We even went and spent another 35 million this January on another forward. If you look at that back line, Meslier, 5 million. Ayling, what was it, 200 grand or something daft. Cooper, less than 1 million. Struijk came through the academy. You've got Firpo, Werber and Koch, who are about 12 to 15 million. And that is it. So if you were to change that back 4 right now, how would you change it? Because
injuries excluded. Yeah, there's not a lot of...
Yeah, obviously without Werber. Werber comes back in, obviously, straight away. Obviously he does. He's been a really good signing. But that back line needs so much investment. It's scary. If our next signing isn't a defender, then I don't know what they're doing. Because it has been the same back 4 for the last 3 games. We've conceded 10 goals. In the comment, who'd you put? Who'd you change? Because people will say Christensen. Did people see Christensen yesterday when he came up? The Titanic moved quicker than him, and it's been at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, it's easy now just to say. Yeah, it's easy just to say, Ayling needs to come out. For who? Christensen. It's horrific every time he comes on.
Christensen came on and got absolutely destroyed. It looked like he couldn't turn.
No, but Brownie's not. Brownie's not. It's not. This is the thing, though, and this is why we look at Cody Drame, and once again. I'm not saying he's the answer. But how is this guy worse than these 2? How? Rasmus Christensen, there is an argument he's one of, if not the worst right back in the division. Like I'm sorry, he's just not a right back. He's not a Premier League right back. He's got no attributes. He gets bossed off the ball by Neto on the first day of the season, who's about 5'6". He can't run quick. Defensively, he's poor. His positional awareness is poor. I don't understand what attribute. I know he's only 10 million, and listen, it's cost effectiveness, isn't it? But Luke Ayling is remaining at right back because Rasmus Christensen has been a shocking signing.
Not been good enough. Yeah.
So he's not good enough. So the squad building process, as you've quite rightly said, is just horrendous across the pitch. And I know we've got some gems. I do know we've got some gems. But even going forward, Nottingham Forest being a classic example, by the way, the other day. In the first half, you've got chance after chance after chance. You've got to put these chances away in the Premier League. It's not the Championship anymore. You've got to start putting these chances away, or you're going to get punished. And as Alex said here, 12 goals conceded in the last 4 games, just got abused by a below-average Palace team, and without argument. That's the thing as well, isn't it? You know, I've not even thought about that properly. No Zaha, no starting goalkeeper, you know, and they come to Leeds and do that. And I tell you what, I was watching Eze. I mean, Eze's just, listen, he's top, isn't he? He's a quality player. But you're seeing him and Elise, and I don't know about you boys, but I said it on my review. I'm cringing. I'm cringing watching it in the ground because they're just playing with us. And it's like, this is a team at the start of proceedings. They came to Elland Road and we're favourites. We're favourites to win the game. And we're 1-0 up at inside 44 minutes. It's...
Yeah, but Connor, I don't want to give passes to the performances of the players because nobody's doing that. You're not doing that. No one's doing that. But like, we could have this discussion we have about how we haven't invested and the squad's not good enough, which we all agree on. The problem is I've seen this team play better against Marcus Rashford than they did against these. There was something about yesterday, the effort and the mentality that for me really has me worried. Like how you can give one of our best player, arguably our best player, one of our best players, a new contract, and for him to come out and give a performance like that.
I know.
And like Brownie, you're talking about Ayling hoofing the ball to no one, and you don't expect Jack to win it. I 100% agree. I expect a player who's just signed a new contract to contest for it.
See, for me with Jack, and I'm going to put this might be a weird analogy because he
was woeful, by the way.
Do you remember?
Not according to
Graham Smythe. He reminds me of, and I'll explain my point, of a bit like Sami Saiz. When things are going well and we're winning and we look good, he looks $1 million.
100%.
When we're up against it and things are getting a bit tough and we need to grind things out and dig in, he's non-existent. Completely
agree. On the money.
Is that a player you give a talismanic contract to? No.
I understand the contract because, I mean, he's scored goals and made assists over the last 5 games. And in that, if the game was stopped after half an hour, we wouldn't be having a chat about Harrison's contract because things were going well.
If we judged contracts on 4 or 5 matches a season, we wouldn't be arguing about Jack either because he's brilliant for 4 or 5 matches. He's horrific for the other matches in between.
Something happened when we scored, and I really don't know what, because for the first half an hour of the game was as rampant and as good than I can remember at home all season. We were honestly being that listening on the radio, whatever it was, after half an hour would have said Leeds wouldn't win that game.
I thought it was going to be a comfortable one.
Yeah. At no point did I think anything other than a Leeds win. We were all over them.
Brownie, then it comes to the fundamental things that we've been saying all season, mate. It's the individual errors. It's giving away boneheaded, brain dead free kicks. Mark Rocker, by the way, who was atrocious in that second half. Mark Rocker giving away a free kick. Junior Firpo giving away free kicks. You know, this is what we're saying under Jesse Marsh as well. It's giving away when you can't defend set pieces. Everyone turned around for Chris and Kev, didn't they? Everyone turned around, and that was something that, you know, was a big thing. But people had eyes over the shoulders, and you know, looking at what was going on. Crystal Palace had 2 corners where Leeds could have made different decisions. They didn't have to get rid of them for corners. You know, it was unpressurized situations where Leeds were panicking, and it was out the blue because Leeds were in control. They missed by an inch. There was one of them. They missed by an inch. It went wide. Warning sign. Next one, they hit the post. Warning sign. Didn't wake up again. Continuous sloppy play. And like you said, but the worry for me is, Brownie and Gabe, obviously, is how on earth can you go in 1-1 and in your mind's eye, think the game's done.
Unbelievable.
Because how is the game done at 1-1? How do you go in? I understand the mentality's on its arse. I understand you've gone in. We've had it before with Derby. It literally was a carbon copy of Derby, and you've come out the second half. They've started playing a little bit, moving the ball quicker. And you look, I turned around to Paul next to me. I said, it's an FA Cup game, this. I said, it's an FA Cup game. It's like a League One team against a top Premier League outfit. We made Crystal Palace look like prime Barcelona there. It was an utter embarrassment in that second half. I didn't leave, but I wanted to leave. It was, you know why? And people shouldn't leave in droves. I understand that. And, I can say this because, I don't go to as many Leeds games, let's say a Brownie, I can't, but, so I'm not really in the position to say it, but I understand why people do Brownie, because it's so painful to watch. It's so painful to watch your team just get pissed around with by Crystal Palace and them just taking them. They're all laying, they're chanting, we want 6. I mean, what?
Oh, mate, I
can't even sum it up. It's just, and
it was a weird one. And I'm coming away, I was speaking to my brother, and I hope he's right. He was just, he said, we've just got it was a bit of an odd one. Nobody saw it coming, especially after the performance against Forest where we hammered them, a good win away at Wolves. We've just got to sweep it under the carpet and just forget, box it off, forget about it, and hopefully never see it again, because it's not something we have seen over the 8 games with the new manager. But what I will say is, I have to be honest, I hammered Jesse Marsh, people hammered Bielsa for the goals we conceded, and we're seeing the same thing with a new manager. That's now 3 managers where we're constantly conceding goals. At what point did the players think, this is us? Because under Marsh, it was the fullbacks are not getting protection because we're playing too narrow. Bielsa, it was we're playing man-to-man, so they're getting isolated too much. Now we're saying that we're pragmatic and we're still conceding goals.
The shape was fine.
Exactly.
I can't wait to talk about the defenders, because honestly,
the only thing left is the players. The only thing left is the quality of the players defending. And this is where I mean, where you think of the money we've spent at the top end of the pitch compared to the back end of the pitch, and it's night and day.
And Brownie as well. Javi looked shocked. Did you check him on the side? He looked shocked. He looked almost, what's happened here?
Everyone did. Everyone was stunned. We couldn't believe. It felt like the first 30 minutes was a completely different day. It felt like it was a different game to what we then watched for the next hour.
But then, Brownie, the warning signs were there.
Exactly. It wasn't just the second half. It was kind of, we scored the goal and we sat back a bit. Then we had Harrison's free kick that nearly scored and one flashed across the box. But you were right, Connor. They got a corner that hit the post, one that went wide. They scored. The warning signs were there at the end of the first half. They really were. And I can see it. People in the comments can see it. That defense needs It needs investment. It's 2023, and we've still got, and they are the main scapegoats, and it wasn't them, but we've still got Illan, Cooper, Forshaw,
Dallas, Bamford.
At the minute, I probably put Dallas back in. That's how bad. Do you know what I mean?
Did you see Patrick Bamford's post-match interview?
Well, I didn't understand. I didn't realize he'd done, because that was something else. That's something else I was going to mention when I was talking about leaders. One about leaders, and the only interview I saw was Weston McKennie, and he's on loan. He's not even half.
And he looked devastated, by the way. Looked devastated. And I watched Patrick Bamford. Just these things happen in football
to face sometimes. The music. We're sending out loan players to face the music. That again just stinks of no leadership, no leaders, and no one to grab a game by the scruff. That game, when we went 1-0 up, should have been 2, should have been 3. We should have buried them.
Gabe, it's an interesting one that you come out with that. And I understand it's all psychology and it's all media training. But what I wanted to hear from Patrick Bamford in that interview as a leader, as a captain of Leeds United this season, which he has been at points. I wanted him to come out. I didn't want him to throw individuals under the bus, but I wanted him to come out and apologise to the fans. I wanted him to say that was not good enough. I wanted him to essentially come out and say, That will not happen again. We'll make sure that never happens again. We promise you, and we can give you there'll be 100% put in every single week for the remainder of the season. Because I don't think there was 100%.
No. Instead, what he did, Connor, is he grinned and said, well, one match isn't going to make or break us.
Yeah, and do you know what? I saw Bamford there, and Brownie's right. I saw McKennie come out, and what I wanted, he'd had a poor game. I wanted Luke Hale in there. I wanted the captain to come on and explain to me, a paying customer, what on earth has just happened. And we didn't get that. And I agree. I thought it was absolutely shocking that Weston McKennie was coming out and doing that interview. Let me just get into a few comments and super chats, everybody. Michael says, Brownie, please, if players have played ahead of you that aren't better than you, would you be demotivated? I think it's happening to some of our squad. I can't remember who that was.
Who's on the bench that's like...
I'm not sure who that's... If Michael wants to say who that's aimed at, but as a player, yeah, when you're on a bench and you're seeing players playing ahead of you that you feel you're better than at or aren't doing anything, of course, you do get a bit, bloody hell, I deserve a chance here. But what I'll say to that, Michael, is firstly, who do you refer to? I presume you mean Christensen. That's the only one I can really think of. But he has been coming on in games and not really pulling up any trees himself. So,
and also, these are we say this every week. These are professional footballers,
not children.
This isn't the schoolyard, and I'm not saying this to you, Michael. I'm not having to go at you, but this isn't the schoolyard where it's like, oh man, I'm sat on the bench, finally had my chance. Well, I'm going to pout a little bit because I should be starting. These are professional footballers. Take your chance by the scruff of the neck, and they haven't done it.
What I'll say on that, Gabe, is I know what you're saying, but it does happen. They're not children, but it's their job. I've been lucky enough to it being my job once upon a time, and you do. It happens. You do have players that you've seen it stop playing for a manager. They just become disinterested because footballers, to us, it's our club. We love the club. To footballers, it's just another club. They can go to another one. They can. I mean, we're talking about interviews. Did you catch Maddison's interview for Leicester? He couldn't care less if they went down or not from his interview. He's off. He's going Tottenham. He's going Liverpool. Yeah. For players, it's just a club.
Brownie, isn't it up to the league? Like you've been in sides. I'm not sure if you've been a captain or not. You have to educate me on your playing history. But would you? No, that wasn't a pop off, guys.
No.
I was legitimately saying, would you allow somebody in your team to like? One thing I think Jesse Marsh did say, he talked a lot of crap, but one thing I think he said that was 100% right is that some of these guys are too nice. Some of these guys are too nice. Like Luke Ayling's got to, if you're going to wear the captain's armband, get in someone's craw. Like here's what I really don't understand about it. Like, wouldn't you as a player, if this is happening, get people together in a quick huddle and say, listen, I don't care if you have to break someone's ankle. Don't let them in uncontested on our goal again. Do you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you say something?
Of course, yeah. And then it comes back to Leeds, isn't that? The armband, for me, it's just a piece of material. When you're on the pitch, everybody should be a captain. It's just the armband is just for the referee. It's just for the referee to be able to speak to someone if things aren't going right. Yeah. The armband. It should be able to be put on anybody's arm. Everybody should be a leader on that pitch. And we're having a conversation about who would you give it to? Because there's no leaders on that pitch. And just touching on the Weston McKennie thing, on the interviews, he'll have been told he was doing that interview before the game. So there'll be a set agenda to who does. You'll notice that every game's a different player that comes out. Aronson came out after the last game. So I kind of get it, but in some situations, you just got to go, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to go out and front it up because I've seen it in the comments and it's right. The only person I've seen actually give a half apology was Robin Koch. He just said it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, which is like understatement of the year and obvious.
Yeah. Social media posts as well. We want to see his face on camera. Not Robin, by the way, but
of course. And people mentioned the Bamford one, so I'll touch on that. The interview Bamford before the game, and in his defence, I thought he had a shocker, and that's it by the by. But in his defence, he said the same before the game as well. He said, "Win or lose, this doesn't define our season." So he kind of said the same thing, before and after. So
Then I question his mentality 24/7 then, because if you're going into this match looking at the run fixtures we have and you can't put enough pressure on yourself to say, hey, you know, we should probably try to win this one, because if we don't, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Our season might come down to this match.
yeah, I think what Connor said when he said it's all psychological and stuff, like you hear managers going, oh, we're not safe yet, even though they know they're safe. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors sometimes that gets said to the press. But I do get what you mean. You want to hear your players. Go back 15 years, you'd be hearing players saying, we're going to win. We're going to win.
I just think some of these guys are too soft. I do. I think some of them are too soft.
I agree with what Gabe said. I think the bit which sort of annoyed me a little bit was it was like, oh, Patrick, you've scored 50 goals. And I feel just at that point, you should have turned around and gone, it's not important today. You know, real stern face, not important today, not acceptable. And he just went, oh, really? Have I? And it's like, Patrick, come on.
I didn't even know that. We were celebrating the training ground thing. That came off.
Listen, I know we're nitpicking. But at the same time, they've just lost 5-1 at home to Crystal Palace. So we're going to have to nitpick, unfortunately. Jack says, Connor and Co. Was there a fight at halftime? It's what is being rumoured. I can't profess to know. But yeah, it seems to be rumoured at the minute. McKennie, Rocker and Ayling seem to be mentioned at the minute. So,
for me, people...
Do you know what I'd have loved, though? If that had have happened and they'd have come out and actually showed a bit of fight.
Yeah, instead of turning on each other.
I don't understand how that happens, yeah. But I'll tell you what, though, Brownie, just before you go, mate, that makes a lot of sense because every time they scored, none of them said anything to each other. It was all quiet. Yeah. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
I mean, it might be me trying to put a positive spin on anything, but I hope there was an argument because it shows they do care. For people to get into like a fight, it shows they care. But like you say, Connor, we didn't see that they cared in that second half. Not one of them.
And it depends what the fight was over too, right? If it was like, if somebody, I mean, there's a report. This is all on Twitter. I don't even know. I haven't seen one single reputable.
The only thing I can think of why there'd be a fight or an argument, I think a fight's a bit of a strong word, but an argument. And as much as Ayling had a shocker, I don't think he had a shocker first half. It was only second half where it came to light. Because first half, I thought he was high, he was getting balls in the box, he was getting into good areas, and they weren't.
Offensively, he did all right first half. Yeah, I agree. His defensive work,
even defensively, there was nothing. What did he do wrong defensively in the first half?
Oh, I've got my back forward list. I'm going to go through in just a minute.
Right, yeah. It'd be interesting to hear because first half, I don't know what Luke Ayling did wrong. Second half, he had a shocker, but first half, I'm not really sure because I don't really remember them getting in behind Luke Ayling once in that first half. Because
I think what they did was Roy was clever, as Arteta was. They just simply said veer over, take him on. You'll continue to do it. There's no way.
First half, it was at Ayew that was sort of like occupying Ayling, and he wasn't beating him, and obviously it switched around a bit. So that's why I meant first half. So the only thing I can think of at half time, and Luke Ayling would be well within his rights to have a go if he did, was what on earth is Mark Rocker doing giving a foul away there? Yeah. In injury time of the first half. That's the only thing I can think of the argument coming from.
And it will have been from that, I think.
It has to be that because I'd have said something. If I'd have been in that dressing room, I'd have said, why on earth are we giving free kicks away there? Because it was brain dead.
And you can imagine if this is a real confrontation, Mark Rocker would say, well, Calamity Bill, you're not going to be the one to tell me. You know what I mean? That's why it's problematic.
That's the wrong mentality then.
I agree. I'm not justifying it.
Getting people in, captains saying stuff, captains having a go. And if the first time a captain does say something, a player argues back, then that's rubbish.
All hypothetical, by the way. We don't know that this is any happening. Brady and I are arguing about our hypotheticals on top of hypotheticals.
Exactly. We're having that pretend argument. If they're doing it in the heat of the moment like that, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
But I'll go back to what I said. First half, I'm not really sure what Mark Rocker can argue back at. With first half, second half, if it was at full time, he'd still be there now arguing really. But first half, I don't really know what he could.
Well, it'd be the loss of possession that resulted in the few opportunities that Palace had. Look, I'm going to go on the defenders here for a minute to go through the goals because the painful second watch for me. I won't belabor this and go too long, but I wanted to make sure that my emotional impressions were different than me just sitting down and having a look. And I'm going to say this with the asterisk that everybody was poor second half, right? So it's going to sound like I'm scapegoating a particular position, But at this level, even multiple levels below it, some of the stuff I saw yesterday as a center half, completely unacceptable, right? So the first goal I can actually understand a little bit, right? Brownie, you spoke about the goalkeeper a little bit. Palace is on a free kick that we shouldn't have conceded, by the way, but it was conceded. And both center halves stopped tracking after the first touch of the ball, the nod on. They kind of just watch and slowly players in because they're kind of looking for the offside. It's clear that there wasn't any communication here. Hey, he's on your back. Hey, he's running through. So that space in between Koch and Pascal Struijk, do you expect that to happen once, right? Like maybe once they don't communicate. And then they sort it out. They say, hey, listen, when we're on these set pieces, we got to be barking to one another. So if there are runners coming in, because sometimes we're going to get an odd bounce, it's going to happen, right? So the first goal, not good defending, but for me, it wasn't so unforgivable. The second goal, bizarre. The ball goes out wide. Firpo pinches in, but is still sort of half marking. Struijk joins, and this is what really, really makes me angry as a defender. If you're going to abandon the shape, especially in your own half around your own penalty area, and you're going to close down because, and quite rightly so, Brownie, you pointed this out, Firpo made a bizarre decision to pinch in instead of going out to contest. If you're going to abandon the shape, and by the way, he didn't pinch all the way in. It's not like he overtook Struijk's position and Struijk just came out. They were both kind of marking him, but neither of them marked him. So if you're going to stretch out as a center half, you have to either win the ball, win a tackle, or make it really difficult for that ball to come in. Struijk doesn't even, he literally stops running and waits for the guy to play the ball in. And I'm like, okay, so now you're out of position. Firpo's not gone out either. So now you have Robin Koch trying to close this space, which leaves a ball over the top for Ayling, who doesn't jump for it and just puts his head, oh no, I've messed up. So that for me was criminal from the defense. The third one, Firpo's on a yellow, so he's giving up space. Struijk half commits again. And if you're going to half commit, you better just don't leave. Just keep your shape. Because if you're going to
Firpo as well, by the way, Gabe, he stopped.
Absolutely. No. I'm not.
He's improved massively, but he has to stop getting yellow cards.
Yeah,
because
I'm not giving him a free pass in this.
No. I'm just saying. I think he's going to be the target of every single team for at least 30 to 40 minutes if he's getting booked.
For me, hang on real quick. So when Struijk comes up again, this is a second instance where he doesn't really come up and commit. So he compromises the shape. Pascal Struijk, we've seen him do this throughout the season, where he gets sort of caught in no man's land.
Remember the Cardiff game?
He just spaces out and isn't sure if he wants to commit. But as a center half, you have to make a decision and decide hard. So if you're going to come out and contest, you have to contest hard. You have to close the guy down. Robin Koch, the next goal, same thing. I'm not really going to blame Robin Koch for this because, I mean, the Palace players too easily slid in on the left. There's no right back in defending in the box. But again, there's too much space for the players. The last goal for me, this is what really put the rotten cherry on top of the disaster class by our center halves.
Was this 4 versus 2 game? Was this the 4 versus 2 or was that the fourth goal?
The fourth goal was the 4 versus 2.
You know what?
The last one was Hughes at the top of the penalty area.
It's frightening that there was that many goals that we're forgetting which one was which.
Hughes gets the ball at the top of the penalty area, and Rocca closes him down. Gnonto closes him down from both sides, and they're about to both center halves. Like one of the first things you learn, hey, when you're playing with a partner at center half, you want to make sure you communicate. So if one of you commits to the tackle, the other one can stay back and mark whoever might be lingering in the penalty area. It's one of the first things you learn. Both of them just put their heads down and charge and leave the Palace player completely unmarked in the center of the penalty area. So when the shot's deflected and it goes right to feet, easiest goal he'll ever score. I was watching the television like I couldn't believe it happened. These two center halves cannot play together because they do not communicate. Robin Koch looks average or a little bit slightly above average when he's playing with Max Vober, who's a very vocal center half. Pascal Struijk, I don't hear him say anything all match. He does a really good job on 1v1 marking. If someone's trying to play in a long ball and he's running with the guy, and he can keep an attacking player under wraps. But every time we're on a set piece, these two together, it's for some reason doesn't. I think this is one of the reasons people have rated Liam Cooper over Pascal Stroke, because he's better at organizing defense. Debatable, but he is more vocal. These guys are disastrous together. Again, I'm not saying it's just their fault. All 10 outfield players and the goalkeeper, poor second half. But for me, too much ball watching, no communication, static, not committed. If you're going to get it wrong, just commit and get it wrong that way. But just doing this half stuff. And then my rant's over.
No, I can't really disagree with anything you said. I mean, communication is the biggest thing you need at the back. And I mean, not having Verba there it's been startling. The same back four, I keep saying, has played the last 3 games. It conceded 4 at Arsenal, and it's conceded 5 against Palace.
Remember when the back four started looking good? Was when Max Vober came into the team?
I honestly thought it'd work. I wanted to see it for years. I always thought it was the future. Robin Koch and Pascal Struijk, I thought it was, but I completely agree with everything you said, and everyone in the comments is saying they are too quiet. They look shy. They look a little bit timid, a little bit passive as centre backs. You never see that, like if you're focusing on them talking, they look a little bit, I just feel a little bit too. They're the technical centre backs, aren't they? If you to pick one, you always get normally a centre back who's very vocal and a centre back who's technically, gifted. You always think like Carvalho and Terry and maybe Ferdinand and Vidic or whatever. Those sorts of defenders, those pairings. I just, those two are just, they're too meek, they're too mild. They have to be partnered with the leader.
Does anybody, people are going to think I've got a vendetta against him and I haven't. But does anybody see Meslier as a big communicator?
No. He's the exact same. He's the exact same. He's in the exact same ball. That's why it was that's why it was such a big thing for me when Verba came in. We saw such a massive difference.
Yep.
Because Verba just talks, and we've got none of them aside from Adams in the team, really.
Yeah.
And to the comments,
after all that, lads, we're still staying up, so who cares?
Oh, God.
To the comments, I don't want to take anything away from Crystal Palace because, again, what a great second half they had. But again, these are fundamental. It's not like they did really complex, mind-boggling tactics that you've never seen before, or players doing these Herculean individual efforts. It was just really everything we could have done to play poorly individually and collectively, we decided to do. And you see the script. We talked about there being this Leeds United script. You know what's going wrong when Jack's got his head down. He gets the ball. He's going to wait for 3 or 4 players to surround him. And then he's just going to, Pascal Struijk looks like a deer in headlights. Robin Koch just puts his head down, runs 5 yards up into a gap, and then plays a driven diagonal ball that's easily dispossessed and comes right back down our throats, bypassing the midfield, which drove the midfielders crazy again.
Do you know, another thing that concerned me, and obviously, Gabe, you alluded to Palace being really good. I don't think they were that good.
Well, we certainly made them look good.
Yeah, we made them
look. That's what I mean. I think I saw one stat on social media about it was a record number of times that we'd been dribbled past. And that was another thing I was going to touch on. I don't know if the Forest game took a lot out of us, but we looked shot to pieces in the last 20, 25 minutes. We just looked like we couldn't move.
So did our subs, though.
We looked lethargic. We looked tired. We looked like we couldn't get to a ball. They were getting there first. We were second to... We just looked off it. We just looked completely off it, which I can't put my finger on why, because we looked so on it for the first half an hour. But...
And it's a lot of people are saying like Palace were clinical, but I still think, I mean, they scored 5 goals, but I still think Palace.
But thank God they weren't clinical.
Especially in that second half. I thought they missed quite a few big chances. There was a lot of opportunities for them to slice through us as well. In that first half, they had 2 or 3 decent opportunities. So we're saying they're clinical. And they probably were because they overperformed their XG, didn't they? But overall, that game could have finished 6 or 7 quite easily.
For people in the comments that disillusioned or not happy with Meslier being questioned, I'm here to listen. Please tell me why he shouldn't have any question marks.
You're right on here, Brown. You're correct. He doesn't command his penalty area. When a cross comes in, he very rarely catches it or punches it strongly. His distribution hasn't been good the last 4 or 5 matches.
What does he do that fills people with this undenying confidence that he can't be questioned because
1v1 on the break stops.
There's just always been a narrative, and it's correct. And that is
a goalkeeper saves a shot now and then. Is that the level that we're aiming for? A goalkeeper saves a shot.
And that's it. And he's, by the way, shout out to Joe, who's just sent me a graphic, by the way. But he's nowhere near the amount of, the most amount of saves in the Premier League like he was last season. And he's letting in a lot of goals, Let's bear in mind as well, we're not just going to scapegoat here, but he's 6'7", and I can't remember last time he saved a penalty.
Well, Connor, there's a comment here from Chris, 2021. If you're questioning Meslier, watch the Everton match. Everton match is one match. This is to be a good player at any position in the Premier League. You have to do it week in, week out. That's what we complain about with Harrison. That's what we complain about.
Gabe. I think it's really key, and you're correct. We've got to, if we're criticising, which we do, Erling, if we're criticising Jack Harrison, Mark Rocker, Weston McKennie, you can't just always, I never see any criticism really, especially online, of anyone honing in on Illan Meslier because it's unpopular. You're going to get bashed for it for whatever reason. You have to hone in on the goalkeeper as well because he's the last line of defence. If you're talking about the defence, Illan Meslier is part of the defence as well.
Brandon's coming with that, what is it, Roy Keane line, a goalkeeper saving a shot. His job.
But it is true. It's true, right? Though. Like, he will pull off a good. Last season more so, I thought he had a really good season, and the statistics. But at the minute, lately, it just seems like you shoot at our goal and it goes in.
Yeah,
that is how it feels to me at the minute. Some of them he has obviously no chance with, but more often than not lately, there's been a lot of. I mean, I remember the one at Wolves where he came flying out of his box and headed it. Just let it run into your box and pick it up. And that's a good comment what someone just put. He had an interview recently where he says he's here for the time being and he doesn't know what his future holds. Again, it's not what you want to hear when you're in a relegation battle from one of your players.
Yeah, Mark as well. I know Mark's on here every week. He's very positive, but he gets very, very upset when there's any criticism laid at any door. I find it difficult to hear. And listen, I like to talk about other people's opinions as well. People like to hear. I find it difficult to hear people bigging up players one week, then saying they're crap the next. Mark, you got a problem with the channel. You're here every week commenting, mate. I don't really understand why you keep coming back. Listen, you don't have to come back, fella. Mark, can I just say, mate, we've been pile drived 5-1 by a team who are a place above us in the division. We've just lost 5-1. Unfortunately, you'll have to get very strong content creators and maybe people who won't stick true to what they actually believe in to come on here and to shine positives up people's arses when they've lost 5-1 in a huge game, which would have given Leeds so much insurance going into the Liverpool game and was a massive game for everybody. I really struggle with that, mate. I think it's understandable that we're criticising, especially after this game. And nobody was saying they were world beaters after Forest. We were just happy and buoyed by the victory. But to not criticise any Leeds player after losing 5-1 in the second half like that, I'd question myself there, mate.
On that comment from Mark, does that not highlight what his comment there just highlights? The inconsistency of Leeds United.
Yeah.
Because in some games, they are very good. Take Mark Rocker, for example. He was unplayable against Forest. He was picking passes for fun.
And McKennie as well. McKennie was brilliant.
He couldn't pass water yesterday. It's just one, and this is what's frustrating nigh on every Leeds fan. 1 minute we look $1 million, and the next minute we look awful.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you were a scout and you went to that one Man United game and you against Leeds and you saw Luke Ayling play, I would have been like, "Who's the right back?"
Do you think? I think it's superb. I think it's probably key as well that we because we touched on like a fair few of the players as well. We've probably got to touch on Patrick Bamford, haven't we? And maybe the striker scenario at the minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was very, very poor yesterday. Rodrigo came on and was poor as well. But where do we go with Bamford here? What's the opinion on Patrick Bamford at the minute? I mean, I'm still seeing the same things that I've always seen with him. I really don't see him developing as a striker. I mean, Brownie, obviously you formerly being a striker. What are we looking at here, mate? What are we looking at? Is this guy going to improve? Is he going to get out of this rusty phase? Do you think he's going to start performing for Leeds and banging them in? I just can't ever see him like consistently banging them in and having 90-minute performances for Leeds.
No, I mean, look at the chance he had against Forest where the two centre halves went for the same header and it landed to him and he just snatched it. And I was surprised when it said it was his 50th goal for Leeds, because he feels like he should have got that ages ago. The amount of chances.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to be near 100 because the amount of
Mm.
chances he has had for Leeds. And I was his biggest fan, and me and you argued, Connor, the year we went up about he needs to come out of the team. And I said, no, he offers a lot. He does. But he was chipping in with goals. What was it he scored at the weekend? His 3rd or 4th of the season?
Mm-hmm.
We can't be seriously talking about our number 9 in April getting his 4th of the season or 5th, whatever it was. It was something ridiculous that I heard. It can't be right. And obviously Rodrigo's led the line because Bamford's been injured, which is the next bit, the next caveat. He's injured a lot. Injured a lot. We saw Rodrigo and Bamford together. Did it really work? Well, not really. We got beat 5-1. We looked all over the shop, but I don't really think we had much of an attacking input in that second half. So there was just something off with that second half. So I don't really want to read too much into our attacking play because we didn't really seem to have any attacking play.
But Brown is the player, and Michael's gone so extreme here. Fair play, Michael. That's your opinion, mate.
I kind of agree with Michael to a certain degree.
Yeah,
I'm
fed up. I'm fed up of hearing he's got a good hold-up game. He's terrible. Can't score. Can't pass. His link-up play is awful. And if his hold-up plays, the ball bouncing off him and giving the ball. And I think there's a modicum of what he's saying there, Michael, which I do like, because I've always sort of said, and I've got myself around to thinking somehow, because he's barely played in 18 months, but I've almost convinced myself that hold up play wise, he's better been on the pitch. He links the side up, but what I'm seeing now is I'm seeing the ball bounce off him. I'm seeing counter attacks because of Patrick Bamford. I'm seeing him make runs toward the ball, which narrows the play. He doesn't have any pace. Is he clinical? Absolutely not. Is he dependable and reliable? No. So I'm looking at Patrick Bamford and I'm thinking, what is it that is still, keeping him in this side? Really, I know he scored. Of course, he scored. He did score a goal, but it's, for me, there's more to being a Leeds United player than just scoring a goal. It's a 90-minute pie, isn't it?
You talk about the pace. There was a ball played in behind against Forest, and he was one-on-one with the defender. It was in the second half. It was over the top, and he was one-on-one in a foot race. He ended up back in our half with the ball. And get it. I mean, I remember people say he holds up the ball, but he's not scoring. That is okay if you're playing in a team that has got attacking midfielders scoring lots of goals. Right. So if Harrison would be on 8-9 goals, Aronson, who's not contributed anywhere near enough, by the way, he's got 1 goal.
He's not.
If he's on 7-8 goals and you've got Sinistero or Nonto on 7-8 goals, you've got a 3 behind you that are inputting goals. And it kind of takes the shine off the striker a bit. When you haven't got them 3 getting good numbers, which we haven't, then it does come down to our number 9. And if he's not scoring as well, then there's a problem. But, I mean, we've touched on the defence being a part of the problem this show, and I'm going to stick with that because we've scored the most goals in the bottom half. So we're not a million miles away. But that isn't because of Patrick Bamford, by the way. That's because Rodrigo has played most of the season and is in double figures. So I'm going to try and not scapegoat it, but try and move away from the attacking play being the problem, because I don't think it is. We're having to score 2 or 3 goals to win a game. That is the problem. Conceding. There's no team in the Premier League that's conceded more. There's your problem.
Brownie, the only thing I want to contribute to the discussion around the question of Bamford is that even when he's firing on all cylinders and he's in form and healthy, he's not a high efficiency striker.
No,
so the way we play and the players that we have and the attacking talent we have, I would love to have a striker who could link up play and create more opportunities for our players and who has a bit more pace to him. And at just the very least, when he gets an opportunity, we back him to score, because I was shocked when Bamford scored. Great delivery by Aronson. I was surprised.
Well, how many chances really in general does he need? I mean, that I agree with you, mate. Like, that was 1-in-1, really. I couldn't believe it. First chance, it was a brilliant header. But when you're looking at let's say Brownie mentioned the Forest game, how many chances does he need to score, really? Like, if you're looking per game, you'd probably say 4, 5, wouldn't you, to score a goal? And that efficiency with Leeds at the minute is just, you're just relying on Nonto, because I bet Nonto's got a better, probably, shot conversion rate, as Sinister obviously will do, but you're just so reliant on, Rodrigo coming back and pulling something out. And yeah, I mean, I guess it moves us quite nicely onto the relegation picture.
I still think we'll be okay.
Can I just ask you something? Is that blind faith?
No, I reckon if you had a Southampton fan on here and a Leicester fan and a Forest fan, they would all swap with us.
They don't know our team like we do.
Yeah, they don't know Leeds, do they?
I mean, what are we now? We're
16th.
Off the top of my head, 6 points above Southampton. People might be able to get a table up and correct me. We're 6 points above Southampton. Is it 4 above Leicester?
Yeah,
4 or 5 above Leicester.
Still to come to Ellen Road.
2 above Forest. I do not see Southampton winning not just 2 games, 2 more games than Leeds. So if we win 1, they've got to win 3. I know that sounds very simplistic, but that's the crux. I don't see that happening. I don't see Southampton winning 2 more games of football than us. I don't see Leicester doing that either. And I don't think there's a team in the division with a worse set of fixtures than Nottingham Forest right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Forest, you're right. Yeah, Forest,
fixtures are horrific. So if we win 1, I don't see us losing the next 8 games of football. So if we win 1 game, that means Leicester and Southampton have to win 2 more than us. And I don't see that happening. So when you ask me about the relegation picture, I'm kind of in that bracket of there's 3 worse teams than us again.
Who's the third?
Forest.
So you think Leicester are worse than us, do you? Still,
I was more confident last night when Jesse Marsh was taking the job.
Yeah, I was.
Me too.
I'm hearing it's Dean Smith again.
Yeah.
That doesn't fill me. If I was a Leicester fan, I'd be thinking.
He's got sacked from Norwich.
They're thinking about next. If I was a Leicester fan, that stinks of he's a good Championship manager. I just think if we win 1 game of football, I don't see us losing 8. So if we win 1, them teams have got to win 3 of 8 games, and I don't see them doing it.
Well, it's gonna have to. I think you're right, and already, Brownie, there's a switch in your head which I find quite interesting, because in the last debrief you were talking about Leeds winning games, and you were talking about us getting ourselves out of this. Now I've just listened to you, and for 30 seconds, you've just mentioned other teams. And me and my dad, because we were saying this the other day, I feel now it's got to a point, this is where I'm at now with the relegation picture, it's definitely 2. I think it is going to be Southampton and Forest, even though Southampton's games aren't too bad, but yeah, I think Southampton are down there. I think Leeds are involved in the one other now, and I think we're looking at other teams. I think you're praying that Leicester aren't going to turn it round at the minute. I am praying Leicester. Listen, if Dean Smith doesn't have to be a tactical genius. Jesse Marsh came in with 12 games and kept us up. He's not a tactical genius. He just needs to go in and apply a little bit of man management. That's what he needs to do. Get the group together, a tarnished group, get them together, see what happens, and he might keep them up.
On that, though, Maddison wants to leave. Tielemans wants to leave. Their big players want to leave Leicester, whether they stay up or not. Them going down, they definitely go. I just think they've kind of down tools a little bit, Leicester. We're hearing disavow. They got beat at home to Bournemouth.
But Brownie, once again with Bournemouth, mate. Like I know you've said before that they're going to be in the bottom. That Bournemouth have turned it around, mate. Gary O'Neill's doing a brilliant job. He really is.
And on top of that, we've just said that about being beat to Bournemouth. We've just been beaten at home against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
My view on this is dimmed, much like the lighting in Brownie's.
I know.
Brownie, hang on. Look at the fixtures we have. We've just lost 5-1 to Crystal Palace. We play Liverpool, who are better than us. We play Fulham, who are better than us. We play Leicester City, who have better players than us. We have Bournemouth, who have equal or maybe better form than us now. Well, everyone's just leaving while I'm talking.
No,
Both of you got up.
I stopped listening when you said Leicester are better than us because they're 19th.
I said they have better players than us. They do. They do.
They're 19th.
But Brownie, this is such a weird division. All they need is for these players to say, you know what? I don't want to have relegation on my resume. Let's give it the old college try one last time.
What's telling you they're going to do that then? What's telling you they're going to do that? Because they haven't done it in 30 games.
Because Crystal Palace, they're going to play us in 2 matches, right? Right now, do you think that we're better than Leicester? Head to head, we're going to beat Leicester at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We've just lost 5-1 to Crystal Palace. Leicester are going to get a new manager bounce.
I love this new manager bounce. This new manager bounce, Southampton have had 2 managers in the bottom. This new manager bounce isn't. We've had a new manager bounce.
But they're so close. But the matches are so close now that if you win 1, it changes the entire complexion of the bottom 3. That's what I'm saying.
This is what I mean. So you're telling me we're going to lose the next 8 games?
No.
So we win 1 then. So we move up. This is what I mean.
I'm saying
all we have to win is 1
think
game.
About this.
We have
drop
to win
to Crystal
1
Palace,
game.
Drop to Liverpool, drop to Fulham. Then you have a totally demoralized team.
I'm not writing the Fulham game off, to be honest. Their form has hit their form. If you look at their recent games, and I went to the Fulham away game in the cup, and it were 2 worldies. Again, we spoke about Meslier, but he's getting beat from 35 yards twice.
Right.
They weren't great.
Well, after Man City, Leicester have got Wolves at home, Leeds away, Everton at home, and then Fulham away. So that
they have more winnable games than we do.
I think
we've got a run of Leicester, Bournemouth, and another one.
No, yeah, we have Leicester, Bournemouth, and then Man City, Newcastle, West Ham, and Tottenham.
So just take that. So we've got 8 games left, Gabe. Take the Leicester, Bournemouth games. Just 2. Do you think we lose both of them games?
Last week, no. Now,
right.
Yeah.
This is why I mean this Palace game has to be. If it's not an anomaly, then there's a problem. But in the last 8 games,
if we don't have Max Vober come back, and I'm not saying he's the only reason we're dropping these games, but I'm so not confident whenever we're under the cosh, as it were, these center halves crumble. They can't communicate. Brownie, we just conceded 5 goals in a single.
I feel like I'm just laughing because I feel like I'm having deja vu from last year because I kept hearing from you, Connor, that Burnley were better. But Burnley were going to get these points. Burnley were going to win. They were below us in the table, just like Leicester are, just like Southampton are, just like Forest. They are below us for a reason.
But Brownie, the distance between these teams isn't what it was last season. We're talking about 1 game for 5 or 6 places.
But you've told me
generally have the same results.
You've told me that we're not going to lose the next 8 games, so we have to get a win.
But I can't be confident about that surmising anymore after watching us concede 4 goals and a half to a team without their star striker who can't score.
If we lose the next 8 games, right, then we go down and we deserve to go down. I do not see Leeds losing the next 8. I don't see it.
How many games do we have to win to stay up, do you think? And
2.
Where do they come from?
2.
So you think we'll win after that performance? So you're confident in saying we're going to beat Leicester and Bournemouth in a row?
What about the previous 7 performances, Gabe?
But
you can't just
those previous no. Those previous 7 performances came with players that it came. Max Vober's out. I really think it's a big deal.
He didn't play against Forest.
Forest are one of the worst teams in the league.
So they go down then. That's one of the relegation spots done.
There's 3 relegation spots. I don't
have one.
Connor, settle this for us. Do you think Bournemouth are better than we are?
Yes, because they're above us in the league.
Yeah, I would say at the
but you say yes, but last week they weren't above us in the league. That's what I'm saying. It's a sardine can of a league. And we have to look at who the players are and how we've played against certain competition. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm putting too much in this one result. But to see us break down like that at that level in front of our home fans erodes my confidence in these players.
It's
without
pressure,
certain players on the pitch.
The pressure's the argument, isn't it? It's the big. So can they deal with the pressure?
Some of these guys are weak.
On that pressure point, this is the first game. This is the first game where we haven't won under pressure in the
Yep.
big games.
Yeah.
This is the only one. Forest, under pressure, we won. The other games against the teams around us, Wolves away, we won. The team Southampton at home, under pressure, we won. This is the one standout game which I completely get was horrific. And I get why it zapped everybody's confidence out. But I just do not see us losing the next 8 games.
Do you think we need to get something against Liverpool?
We need something in every game. We need to see something and get points out of.
But people will write Liverpool off, won't they, Brownie? Because it's Liverpool. But do you think we need to get something from that game?
Yeah, but would it surprise you if we actually did get something from it?
No. Well, I know it's the
yes
I know.
and no.
Yeah. Yes and no. Yeah.
I would love this. I would love that to happen. I think I am concerned. This is a strong reaction out of fear. I'm concerned that these players' mentalities, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are like a house of cards. And I don't think that some of them are mentally resilient enough to pick up the pieces, in must-win scenarios. Some of them are reluctant to even say that these are must-win scenarios. I'm alarmed by it. I'm alarmed by it because I don't think that if Max Vober were coming back in the team tomorrow, I would say, you know what? I think some of the stuff I saw from the back line was an anomaly, but it's not. We saw it under Jesse Marsch. Like we saw it under Marcelo Bielsa with some of these players. I'm really concerned that all it's going to take now to open us up like a packet of crisps is a couple guys bombing down the wings and sending crosses in, or taking a couple touches, taking on our fullbacks, skinning them like cats. Now I'm using all these colloquialisms. Jesus. Point is, Brownie, I just don't have the confidence in some of these players.
I get why that's over. I get why that is. Obviously, I'd be more confident with Max Vober in the team, but if you look at the fixtures in isolation, there's teams down there that have got ridiculously hard games themselves. I would not want, if I was Nottingham Forest.
No, of course we wouldn't want to be Nottingham Forest.
Right, and they're the highest team in the relegation zone. Southampton are 6 points below us. So if we win one game of football, they have to win 3. They've barely won 3 all season.
Carlos has said something that hasn't been talked about is the club is too big for some of these players. Yesterday was unacceptable. We win yesterday and we stay up, but not Leeds. To be honest, Carlos, it'd have been, really thinking about it now, it would have been shocking if Leeds won, because that really would have been like, it'd have been, it's done. It's not done, but it'd have been close to being done. 32 points, you need a win really and a draw. And I think maybe in a sense, maybe trying to somehow put a positive spin on it, the players need to kick up the arse now, because the pressure is massively on. We win the game yesterday. We're cruising to 32 points. Do they get a bit complacent? Do they get a bit complacent? Do they just sit back a little bit and go through the motions? Now the pressure is on. It is massively on.
It felt like we'd beaten Forest. We're 1-0 up against Palace and cruising. It just felt like the gas just came off when it was the biggest point of when we had to go full throttle and just go for the kill, and we didn't and paid the price.
I think you're right. I think it comes down to, I hate to say this, it comes down to what Leicester do. If Leicester continue as they have all season, I think we're probably safe.
Yeah,
Nottingham Forest have the worst run of games, as Brownie rightly pointed out, and I think Everton are probably going to be fine, going to continue to pick up points where they can at home.
Yep.
However, if Leicester wake up, we're in trouble. Yeah,
I agree. I think Brownie'd agree with that as well. I think it's if they suddenly wake up, Leicester, and start like Everton have done, like we've done,
like West Ham have done.
I hear this about Everton waking up. It's the first time they've been out of the bottom 3 under Dyche with the win. It's like they've not exactly been flying.
No, I guess it was just because they were literally on a one ticket race to the championship, weren't they?
Under Lampard, they're down and out. And,
under the Chelsea manager Lampard, I want to point out.
Yeah.
Should we get into some Liverpool predictions?
Oh, Christ.
Right, I'm going to go out with it. It is going to be it's going to be I was so confident in getting something, before that Palace game. Actually, wasn't. That's me. I'm gonna go with a 3-2 Liverpool win. Which would that dent your confidence? Probably, but yeah.
I think they always won after what happened.
It could be. Let's be honest. It could be a mauling, couldn't it? On the back.
It could be a mauling.
It could
be a mauling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to drawing on together, and I think we'll get a point.
Which, by the way, would change. I mean, it's a point in it, but it would change everything. Because the worrying thing is Leeds can go into Liverpool bottom 3, I should say, which is slightly worrying, because that's a lot of pressure, then, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. We can. By the time we next play, we can be in the bottom 3.
Yeah.
Which, like Gabe says, it is tight down there. But
what do you think? What do you think they can do differently for Liverpool then? Like what? Because we're just talking about quality. Is this just one of those games where it's like, how do you combat Liverpool? Like what? I mean, they're not world beaters anymore, are they? We know that, but they still have so much individual quality, as we saw yesterday.
I expect to see a few changes.
I
do expect to see a few changes. Gabe mentioning Verba being out, he's a massive miss, and the sooner he comes back, the better.
Because they've got leaders, haven't they, all over the pitch? Liverpool, Van Dijk, Henderson,
and I know they've not had good seasons, but you'll look at us and think Nunez and Gakpo running at Ayling and Firpo. I mean, it really does concern me. I think I've got to go to a 2-0 Liverpool win. I hate to predict it. Maybe I'm just too low after the Palace match, but as I said, I've never seen I guess it depends on how we bounce back, obviously.
I mean, let's be right. They've just spent like Gakpo and Nunez combined is about 150 million quid, isn't it? Mo Salah's still one of the best players in the world. So
right. And I'm thinking like, what is our manager going to do? Is he gonna start Rasmus Christensen on the right? Like, I don't feel better about that. There's no Tyler Adams to fill in at right back right now, which he has done before at RB Leipzig. It's just we don't have any. Cody Drama's on loan. What is he going to do? Go to another like a 3-5, whatever we played last night with a false 9 at home. Like
it'll be an Arsenal. It'll be an Arsenal Brighton. It'll be an Arsenal Brighton scenario, won't it? Where he's sticking. I mean, they've done it. I mean, even the Brighton game. Let's be honest. I think me and you have spoken about it, Brown. Like they're probably one of the best teams that we've seen at Ellen Road this season, really. And we couldn't touch the ball, but we stayed in the game. Yeah. And that's what you've got to point. That's what you got to point to, really, isn't it? In terms of Grazia was there, they had all the ball. We knew that, but we're gonna 2 individual moments that kept us in that game. But we're gonna have to rely on that. We're gonna have to be clinical. We're gonna have to be absolutely clinical because they're gonna score, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, Jonathan McKennie played right wing back at Juventus for a couple of matches, not in a flat 4.
I would not trust McKennie at right back, by the way, against Gakpo or Nunez, but yeah.
You trust him more than Bill?
Well, at the minute, yeah, I trust you more than Bill at the minute. Sorry, so I said 3-2 Liverpool. Brownie's gone with 5-0 Liverpool. Okay, what were you saying?
I said 2-0 Liverpool.
You said 2-0. Well, guys, we'll leave it there.
Well, what a happy.
We'll leave it there. It's been very, I don't know. I think it's been a quality debrief, to be honest. Episodes like this, I think therapy sessions are what we all need. It's not the same talking to yourself and talking at your girlfriend and stuff like that. So,
poor missus, man.
Yeah. So she supports Liverpool as well, so that's going to be fun. She wants to watch the game with me, so that should be interesting.
Don't do it, man.
No, exactly. But guys, get your comments in the section below. Really appreciate you turning around and being with us for this one. There's been 1,000 of you in the building. Please make sure you slap a like on the video. We do the debrief every week. You guys seem to enjoy it, and it's been an absolute pleasure being joined by you, Brownie, and you, Gabe, for this one. And we'll be back very, very soon, lads. All right, we will catch you in a bit. Come on, Leeds. Let's get a win against Liverpool.